Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
And of course, Lancashire, the home of the Lancashire hot pot, the home of roast beef and Yorkshire pudding.
Look at the light!
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes, and it's time to say a very good morning to Mr. Mike Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mike. And, I'm glad you started the show with a series of completely and utterly stupid questions.
What do you mean?
Listeners. What is the point of the Italy game?
What is the point?
What a stupid question.
Why is it a stupid question?
It's International Week.
Yeah.
The international calendar says you've got to play two internationals.
Yeah.
What do you expect England to do? Cop out and go home and sit down
Well, they
and
might
put
as
their feet
well.
up?
They will get nothing out of the England game.
No.
None of the decent players that Roy Hodgson wants to pick are going to be able to play.
Well, in that
because
case,
they've all
he's
been
got
withdrawn.
the opportunity to give other players who may not have had the opportunity a chance to try and
And what's
try
the
and
point
shine
of that?
them
Because they're
on
never
the
going to play.
international-
Because they're not going to play in
on the
Euros.
international stage.
Yeah, but they're not going to play in the Euros. So
They
you
might do if they make a great impression in the
Course
friendly
not.
against Italy, which Roy Hodgson has just said is a better team than Lithuania. We all know that. That's a statement of the obvious, obviously.
Well, brilliant.
They
Yeah,
might get their
fantastic.
opportunity and they might suddenly find themselves
the whole
appearing on the international stage.
The whole of the English football setup is in crisis, as far as I'm concerned. And what you're doing is being like an ostrich and burying your head in the sand, along with everybody else.
You cannot change the football system in this country.
Well, it needs to be changed.
Unless you change the world calendar.
It needs to be changed.
You see, this is where your crass stupidity about all matters football
There's no need to be rude.
to the surface. There's nothing rude about calling you a crassly stupid individual. I'm just stating the facts of the situation at the moment.
Yeah, you being the man, as you admitted yesterday, who created so many innovations at the FA that we're still suffering for the reverberations.
No,
Are they still selling the cufflinks that you designed? And, can you still buy the ties that you revamped?
I expect so, but there's no need to be trite and trivial about it. The real work I did at the FA, I did behind the scenes, and I do not wish to boast about it. Leaking stories, turning the public opinion about the FA into a positive after so many years of it being a negative.
Right. Well, my worry is this, and I speak as somebody...
You should have a lot of worries, mate.
I have got a lot of worries, but my worry in this particular international week, as you quite rightly pointed out that it is that there is a problem at the very basis of English football.
And what is that?
In which the clubs do not want any of their players to really to go and play football for their national team. Somebody's going to have to address that.
That's Michael Platini's fault.
Michel Platini, you mean?
Yeah, that's his fault.
Somebody's going to have to deal with that.
That's his fault.
No, it's not his fault.
He decided to extend the competition that we're now trying to qualify in. Well, I mean, we have qualified in to all intents and purposes. Into a competition with twice as many teams as it had 10 years ago, or 12 years ago, when it played 12 years ago. That means that you have to admit teams into the competition who are, at best, about as good as Vanarama Conference teams in this country.
Well, it was like Mark Dawson said, we're like playing Mansfield Town, with no ill will towards Mansfield Town.
So unless we'd have said, look, Mr. Platini, we don't agree with you watering down this competition to make it so easy to qualify, therefore we're not going to enter, what else are we supposed to do?
Well,
we have to play these games.
Yeah, you have to play the games.
Have to.
But if you have to
so
play
have
the
you
games...
got something that's not crassly stupid to suggest?
Yes, I have.
Suggest. Go on, then.
Well, my point is that clubs should be forced... A very good idea that we actually had from a listener who said that if a club withdraws a player from the competition internationally, then that player should not be allowed to play the next game for his club, because that would stop all this nonsense.
The only players who've been withdrawn from the England squad so far have been withdrawn after being examined by the England medical team.
Well, what about Raheem Sterling?
After the England medical team agreed
to
the conclusions...
He can play against Lithuania.
Well, you can recover from injuries in 3 or 4 days. You know, that's
why can't he play
against?
Why can't he play against Italy then?
Is your crass stupidity so deep that you think that injuries don't cure themselves and don't get you back into fitness within a few days?
But he's not injured.
He is injured.
How can he play against Lithuania if he's injured?
He's injured to the extent that he cannot play 2 games in 4 days.
He's injured to the extent...
And there are plenty of players who can't play
Absolute
2 games
rubbish.
in a week.
That's rubbish.
Gary Pallister once had to go on traction every time he played once a week.
Yeah.
The idea of him playing 2 times a week would have crippled him.
So he's not unable to play, though?
He was an England centre-half. Well, as I say...
You can't defend it.
The problem is, with crassly stupid people like you, you think young men running around very fit and all that can play every single day.
Well, they
You don't realise the wear and tear it takes on on their bodies and how it would curtail their professional career.
Absolute nonsense.
If they were overplayed. You simply don't understand it.
You're talking absolute
rubbish.
You
don't understand it.
You're talking rubbish.
You might as well be trying to tell me about biophysics or brain surgery, because you understand as much about those subjects as you do about the football man and the football body
you can
and
say,
football fitness.
You can talk until you're blue in the face, which is where you're going.
I might have to.
Yeah, which is the way you're going, because don't forget, only a third of your heart works.
To get new
I
sense in your head.
I don't want any kind of immediate problems here on the station. But the bottom line is that clearly Raheem Sterling does not want to play in a friendly match because his team wants him to play against Arsenal. Yes. And it's as simple as that. And until they address that situation, then we're going to have the same problem every single time there's an international break. And there is no point in playing the game. There is absolutely no...
You have to play the game. You have to play the game.
And as somebody else pointed out, it's all very well saying give another chance to another player. What if that other player is playing for a lower Premier League team who is needed by his club because they might be fighting relegation? What if he gets injured? Is that not so important as if a Liverpool player gets injured?
All these crassly stupid statements about we shouldn't be playing the game only stoke up fires of resentment against Roy Hodgson, whose hands are completely tied.
It's not his fault.
Of course it's not his fault, and it's not the FA's fault.
Whose fault is it then?
It's Michel Platini's fault. How many times have I got to tell you that before it gets through into your thick head? Are you suffering tinnitus?
Have you had a bad day or something?
Are you suffering tinnitus?
Pardon?
Are you deaf?
No.
Are you stupid?
No.
Are you suffering tinnitus? Or are you just unable to grasp the basic facts of the football world that we have to play that game next week against somebody?
Have you had a particularly hard day?
We might as well play it against...
very excitable tonight.
Excuse me.
Have you had a particularly hard day?
Just calm down.
I'm not the one that's not calm.
We might as well play it against a decent, world-class team like Italy to give the players who are going to turn out for England something to play against.
Right, but who's going to turn out for England?
You simply don't understand.
Who do you think is going to turn out for England if all the players aren't going to be made available? They're not going to be made available. Maybe a few Everton players will get in the team in that case.
Well, maybe they will, and maybe one of those Everton players will suddenly seize their chance, score 3 goals, and all of a sudden a star is born on the world stage.
I mean, for example,
like Ross Barkley.
Let's talk about Ross Barkley. I mean, how would you feel if Ross Barkley pulled out of the game against Italy? Would you be happy about that?
I wouldn't be unhappy.
You wouldn't be unhappy?
I don't want Ross Barkley to get injured. We've got 8 or 9 games to play towards the end of the season.
Don't you want him to shine for England?
Yes, I'd like him
to
shine for England.
You can't answer it.
Oh, no, I can answer it. I'm not crassly stupid. I can answer it, so I would like him to play for England, but I also need him to perform at the highest level against Southampton in our next Premier League game.
Well, he can't do both, can he? Because obviously he's probably not able to play 2 games in 4 days.
No, he can. He hasn't got a problem, but we know Raheem Sterling has a history.
Who?
Raheem Sterling has a history. Will you stop being pathetic and crassly stupid? Has a history of intense pressure on his body resulting in the potential for injury.
Yeah.
And I sympathise with him in that situation.
But they all have the potential for injury, surely.
Not as much as Raheem Sterling, who we know has a record of it with those hamstrings of his.
Now, all right, let me ask you another question.
You must remember how the way it went for Michael Owen, a huge talent, curtailed early in his career.
Whose fault was that? Michel Platini's?
No, that wasn't. That was the problem of the Lord Almighty for giving him dodgy hamstrings.
The Lord Almighty.
Well, who else could have been responsible?
No, quite. Now, let me ask you another question, because I can see you're very irascible tonight.
Yeah.
Are you not one of the biggest fans of England at TalkSport?
Indeed, I am.
If not the biggest.
Indeed, I am.
Yeah. Are you going to Lithuania?
Am I going out to Lithuania?
Well, not out to Lithuania. You're going to Lithuania game at Wembley.
I haven't decided yet.
You haven't decided?
No, I haven't decided.
Well, have you got a ticket? It's sold out, you know.
Oh no! I could go if I wanted.
Really?
I have a permanent ticket to England Internationals at Wembley.
Right.
Oh yeah, I have access.
So who's going to go in your stead if you don't use it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know, because it's a situation in which I would be amongst exalted company, of which there are a lot of people who are in exaltation of that company.
You might meet the Lithuanian head of the FA. Like, remember that guy from the Ukraine that you met?
Well, yeah, I do. Yeah.
When you insulted his country.
I didn't insult his country. I just forgot which country he came from. But that was irrelevant. It doesn't matter.
Now, we've got lots to talk about tonight. I want you to calm down. I want you to stop being quite so objectionable.
Well, I get really fed up with people like you who are just causing mischief.
I'm not.
Causing mischief, trying to get a cheap laugh or two out of the audience by rubbing Roy Hodgson Clarkson's face in the dirt by
I've
suggesting
said
he's
it's
doing
not his
something
fault.
wrong.
No, I've said it's not his fault, very clearly.
Whose fault is it in your opinion?
Well, I think it is the fault of the FA. I think it is the fault of the system.
How can I've already said it's Michel Platini's
No, it's not.
fault.
Well, Michel Platini may have
He is the head of the system.
He's not the head of the system. No,
Of
the
course he
FA, Greg Dyke is the head of the system.
Rubbish.
Yes, he is.
Rubbish. If the FA said we're not playing Italy next week, we're not playing a friendly, they would be banished from the international calendar.
Well, that's
so what
fine.
a stupid idea.
Well, that's fine.
You
Something has to be
forward.
done. Something has to change. We are the two mics. This is Talk Sport. More nonsense coming up from Mr. Parry next.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
Food, glorious food. Don't care what it looks like. Runs under the cruise. Don't care what the good's like.
Just thinking of growing fat.
Our senses were reeling. One moment of knowing that. Full of feeling. Food, glorious
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics, of course. He is Mike Porky Parry. I'm Mike Graham. Why are you banging the desk?
Because I like that song. It's
Do you?
from Oliver, isn't it?
It is from Oliver,
And
yeah.
Who wrote it?
Food, Glorious Food. Well, I imagine whoever wrote the musical, right?
It was that guy, the sort of Cockney sort of barrow boy turned songwriter.
Oh, it wasn't one of Rodgers and Hammerstein.
No, it wasn't Rodgers Hammerstein. It was didn't he write Fiddler on the Roof as well?
Oh, very possibly.
I think he did. Yeah,
I'm not an expert on musicals.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit of an expert.
Are you? Would you like a quiz on musicals?
No, not to that
Why not?
extent. Because I'm doing a quiz on politics.
Well, yeah, but next
from
week we have another
1975.
quiz. But next week
Well,
we have another quiz.
maybe.
I'm told
think.
was it Lionel Bart? Is that who
Lionel
you're thinking
Bart.
of?
Lionel Bart.
Yeah, there you go.
You see, I got that right from the
Oh,
start.
you didn't get it right. You didn't get his name at all.
Now, you've been taking the mickey out of the Toby Carvery.
Yes, I have. And amazingly, the Toby Carvery have joined in the
Yes.
past sort of 24 hours since we did the
In
show
very good
last night.
humour.
Because I did what I thought was a nice thing, and clearly because you're in a very irascible mood this week for whatever reason.
Right.
You know, I offered you £5 off when you spend £20 in a Toby Carvery, replaced by your own admission that you go all the time.
I do.
Now, instead of accepting it in a good grace,
Yes.
you ripped it up in front of me and threw it on the floor.
Yeah, do you know why that was?
Why?
Because it wasn't your present. That could have been taken out of any newspaper by anybody. And as I
It was written
understand it,
specifically out to you.
as I understand it,
Yes.
it wasn't your initiative anyway. It was a
No,
top
it wasn't.
member of our production staff.
Yeah, the
so it
executive
wasn't even
producer.
your present.
No, it was. Yeah, but
Yeah.
he offered it to me, and I said no. I think we should give this to Mike because you
Yeah.
know he's done so much for us
Yeah.
that it would be nice to return
Well,
the favour.
I think anybody who looks down the nose at a Toby Carvery is a snob.
Yeah.
I think that they're a peasant.
I'm not a snob. No,
I think that
you can't be a snob and a peasant.
They're a peasant in reverse, if
Yeah.
you'd let me finish. A peasant
What's
in
a
reverse.
peasant in reverse?
It means that the peasantry that you so despise condemns you to that peasant-like mentality
I see.
of meanness, of duplicity in attacking your fellow man, and you're pathetic.
Oh, well, the Toby Carvery said when they saw that you had ripped it up, right, and instead of taking advantage of the offer
Yes.
to go and get £5 off, they actually put up sad face on Twitter
Yeah.
because they were very disappointed. And by way of reparation, they have actually offered one to you again by saying, quick, please get another one here before Saturday the 28th of March. And they've actually tweeted that to you so that you can download another
Excellent.
voucher and you can get another £5 off. Would you accept it from them?
Of course I would.
So you accept it from them, not from me?
Yes, exactly.
Why is that?
Well, because, you know, in all the time I've known you, it's so rare for you to put your hand in your pocket, produce a
Absolute
£5
nonsense.
note and say, here, Porky, you know. I mean, that wouldn't even, by the way, where we go drinking,
Yeah.
get me 2/3 of a glass of wine.
Well, it's not about drinking, it's about food.
Well, no,
I
you
mean,
have-
presumably £5 off at a Toby Carvery, you can get like 2 meals, can't you?
No, you can't. No, and stop being belittling of the Toby Carvery clientele.
Maybe we should go to one. Maybe you should take me to a Toby
I think it
Carvery.
costs about £7, right?
Yeah.
So if you're with,
£7?
Yeah, about £7. I
Right.
think it's about £7
for all you can eat roast.
Well, it's not all you can eat. You go and get a couple of slices of turkey or beef or something like
Yeah.
that, or one of each,
Right.
and then as much vegetable as you want, because it's very healthy. Now, if it was you and your
You don't
wife...
eat vegetables.
I do. I eat loads of vegetables.
Do you?
All the time.
Really?
All the time.
Okay.
So if it was you and your wife and 2 of your kiddies...
I haven't got a wife.
Well, all right, the mother of your children, whatever
Right.
you want to call them. And I think there's a reduced rate for children.
Is there?
You'd probably spend just over £20.
Yeah, but the
Two
food isn't
sevens
very
for
good, though.
adults.
No, the
the
food's
food's
not very
very
good.
good.
That's why I don't go
Food
there.
is very good.
No, it
Food's
isn't.
excellent.
Rubbish.
So that means you'd get a meal for 4 for a family of £15. I think that is an absolute bargain. And
If you like that sort of thing.
I applaud
I don't.
the Toby Carvery people for setting up such an institute. They're very, very popular, believe me.
I'm sure they are.
In this day and age...
Lots of things are popular.
In this day and age when pubs are closing down all over the place, and by the way, when I leave the motorway, which is the M27, and arrive at Chateau Paris, which is just on the coast at the bottom of the peninsula where Gosport is, I have counted 12 pubs that have closed down.
Have you?
Since I've been there, and that's 8 years.
Right.
12 pubs that have closed down.
Shocking.
And they've either become Spar supermarkets, Tesco Express...
Hey, how's that secret Lidl's coming along, by the way?
It's coming along very well.
Must be opening soon.
Well, it must be.
You said you wouldn't go there.
No, I will go to Lidl's.
Oh, will you?
I will go to Lidl's.
I thought you said you wouldn't go there.
Well, I wouldn't travel any great distance, but if it's just round the corner, I will. Some of them have been turned into houses. Some of them have just been knocked down and new things built on them.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is...
That's all largely just because of the smoking ban, you know that, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and that's right. But in the midst of all that, on a very nice site next to a leisure centre, this building went up, very modern building, and then a sign went up called the Sailmaker, and it's a Toby Carvery restaurant and pub and bar.
So do you go there regularly?
I go there regularly,
Yeah.
and it's very, very nice indeed. It's well appointed, it's clean and tidy. The staff are excellent. It is, in fact, the one where, funny enough, and I don't wish to put Toby Carvery down, it's that one I went to a couple of weeks ago when all the computers had broken down.
Yeah,
They
right.
couldn't serve you anything.
And all these people were sitting there and they couldn't. They didn't have anything.
Absolutely, yeah,
Dear
which is
God.
a bit unfortunate, but there you go.
Never mind.
But,
now, let me
yeah.
read you a couple of tweets. I've got
Okay.
one here from Sean in Brighton. It says, if Mike Parry says crassly stupid again, I'll go to smash the radio.
Oh, really?
Another texter
smash your radio,
says,
they're expensive.
if Ross Barkley gets injured and John Stones gets injured on Tuesday, will Porky be happy that they played in a friendly and got injured? I don't think so.
No, of course not. Of course I don't want that. But the experience of playing against Italy's finest, for John Stones in particular, and, of course, for Ross Barkley, would be terrific.
Yeah, well, you say that. Here's one from Stephen who says, Mike, Porky is right on this. You have to manage the young players. They are like racehorses. Well said, Porky.
Yes,
says
thank you.
Steve.
Thank you. Some appreciation from
And
those
Chris,
who know what they're talking
Chris
about.
says, I've had to turn the radio down twice. Porky is on fire.
Yeah.
Well, I wish he was on fire.
Yeah, well,
but
no, I'm
actually
not.
he's
I just don't. You know, I fight injustice. I'm the seeker of truth and justice.
Yeah, you are.
And I fight injustice.
And
It's
Matt,
as simple as
here's
that.
one from Matt. Porky's very excitable tonight. Did he by chance overdose on sugary drinks and sweets before the show started?
No, I didn't actually. No, and I haven't.
Are you
had-
off the Red Bull now then?
Off the Red Bull? Haven't had a drop of alcohol for 3 days, something
Really?
like that. Yes.
3 days?
3 days. I think
Blimey.
Saturday was last time.
Is this on medical advice?
Not at all. It's on. It's the search for inner peace.
Is it?
And I do have inner peace
Right.
at the moment. Yeah. Talking about inner peace.
Yeah.
Dave Mackay's at inner peace, isn't he? Because
well, he is.
unfortunately
It was
he
his
died.
funeral yesterday, wasn't it?
It's, yesterday. That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say today. 80 years of age, and what a turnout of football aristocracy.
Yes.
To his funeral in Edinburgh.
Yes.
Because you'd have thought, well, you know, he was in the Spurs team that won the double and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
but he always had his heart in Edinburgh, didn't he? With
Absolutely.
the heart of Midlothian.
You're absolutely right, where he was the greatest ever player,
Yeah.
and maybe he was even Spurs' greatest ever player. But what a turnout, and I think it's absolutely fabulous. Personally, if I'd have been invited, I may not have gone. I can't go to funerals.
Why?
They just send shivers down my spine.
Well, I mean, you're uncomfortable with the whole idea of coffins and the hearse
Yes,
idea
I am, yeah.
and all of that anyway, aren't you?
But I don't fear death. In fact, you
No,
know,
but it's just the trappings of death.
it's the
that worry
trappings
you.
of death. You're absolutely right. I quite welcome death because it's a new bag, and you know, it's
A new
something.
bag?
Yeah, well, you know, something you haven't
It's a
done.
new body bag.
No, something you haven't done before, and you sort of think, what comes next? And all. No, you understand what
That's
I'm
a
not.
bizarre way to look at it.
No, I'm not being trite.
Something you haven't done before.
Well, I think it's quite exciting to find out what happens next.
Well,
you know,
what if
'cause-
nothing happens next? Because you're dead.
No, something does happen next. I'm a believer.
Well, you think you're going to go to heaven, don't you?
I don't believe, right, that if you point upwards, there is heaven, like John said, and if you point down, there's hell. I don't
Right.
believe in that.
Right.
But I believe there is a mission
Another
onto somewhere
place.
else. Yeah, there's another place. You've got to go to it.
What about reincarnation?
I don't know about reincarnation. I'll let you know when I come back as a duck and start quacking around in a pond in Walton
And
on the Hill
complaining
in
that
Surrey.
somebody keeps feeding you bread.
Yeah, maybe.
It's not good for you.
But anyway, look, you're absolutely right about the trappings of funerals. Why do they all have to be so formal? You know, big oak coffins. I hate hearses. I just hate hearses. They're the most ugly and horrible and sinister vehicles ever been built. I hate even more when people decide, let's put a real flourish into it and have a horse-drawn carriage with two horses with plumes
Like
on their
Richard
heads.
III the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
What
mind
was
you,
all that
I mean,
about?
what
Yeah.
else? Can they can't really carry a coffin or a body in anything else. You can't really put it in the back of a van.
I
can
totally
you?
agree. I just
So
don't.
they have to have a sort of special carriage. For it.
I wish we didn't have funerals. I mean, for
Do you
instance,
think you won't have a funeral then when you die?
well, John Lennon didn't have a funeral. No, he didn't. No, because they were so worried that it would become a place of martyrdom forever that John Lennon disappeared into a.
Well, that's a different reason, though, isn't it?
Yes, but
I don't think there's any reason for you not to have a funeral on the grounds that it will become a place of martyrdom. I think that's not very likely to happen.
Well, it might. It might. People might feel that I, did enough to change the world and all that kind of stuff.
They might. Yeah.
But I just think I almost as well. Is this a horrible thing to say? I think there's an element of cynicism about the funeral industry as such, because it's dealing with heartbroken people. Yeah. You can't half-screw them for a few bob, can't you, to charge massive amounts of money for funerals.
Well, there's all those adverts. We've talked about these adverts before, haven't we, that people are trying to convince people that they should have a funeral plan.
I know.
I'm not having a funeral plan.
No, I'm not having a funeral plan as well.
It's not something I'm going to plan for.
I mean, we don't have the basic right in the world where we live of food and water unless you pay for it. But we should have the basic right of the disposal of our body paid for by the state. Yeah. And I don't think it should be. I've
told you, haven't I, about what they do in Germany?
At all.
I've told you this before. When I was in Germany once, and we went to visit the graves of some of my other half's family,
right?
Because they were buried in a place near Heidelberg, right?
Yeah.
And when we got there, they'd been dug up.
Oh dear!
Because in Germany, you can only rent the space in the grave.
Right,
so if you only rent it for 10 years or 25 years or whatever it is.
And what do they do with the remains?
Well, that's not very clear.
Right.
I think they just kind of scrape it around.
See, this is all
horrible.
horrible.
It sounds terrible, doesn't it? I mean, it means basically there is no final resting place.
No. Well,
so you just rent one.
Do you know what? I was in New Orleans once, and I went to a graveyard only because it was between A and B or something. Somebody said, let me tell you about this graveyard. And what they do is they put the body, like the corpse, in the top of a stone vault.
Yeah.
But it's got, like you would get a toaster with toast on it, but the crumbs drop below it and all that kind of stuff.
It's like a tray.
Like a tray, that's right. They put the body on a tray.
Yeah.
It is so hot in New Orleans that they, after about 2 or 3 years, the body is literally turned to dust, and the bones and everything else. And all they do is they take the top off the stone vault, and there is nothing in there but dust.
Right.
And they shake the dust out, and then put another body in.
Do they?
Yeah. So the body just disappears, which I think is a great thing. You see what I mean?
Right.
It is literally, they use the heat inside.
Well, whose name is on it then?
There is no name. There are no names. There are no names. There are no names.
So there are no names on any graves.
There are no names on any graves in New Orleans. There are no names on any graves in New Orleans.
I think it must have been after lunch you went.
No.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. It's Ask Porky night, of course. If you've got any questions for him, tweet them at the Two Mics. More coming. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out in a little while, of course. Just follow at the Two Mics, and we'll send you the link for the iTunes and the Android one as well. Mr. Parry's going to be taking part in Ask Porky in a little while. But right now, it's time to have a little chat with a man called Russell Hargreaves, who last week
I am called Russell Hargreaves.
You are, who was quite confident last week that England would win the Six Nations, and it turns out they didn't.
No, they didn't. They failed again.
They came within about an inch of winning it in the last minute.
No,
they didn't win.
A litany of failure. Litany of failure.
Litany of failure.
Litany of failure.
Explain how it's a litany of failure.
Well,
Stuart Lancaster's job is on the line.
No, it's not.
Which is, well, hang on. According to the man who runs rugby in this country, RFU Chief Executive Ian Ritchie delivered a damning verdict in the wake of the world's biggest and best resourced rugby nation coming up short for a 4th successive year on Saturday. Explain that, Mr. Hargreaves.
Ian Ritchie, who says in his interview, we remain extremely confident, happy and committed with the coaching team that we have in place.
And it's not acceptable.
Yes, but he did actually specifically say, Mike, that the coaching team is very happy with it.
And by the way, it's never acceptable to lose, but to lose 4 successive years on the run and then still have your job, do you know what that is? That shows that the RFU have no intention whatsoever of going for the pursuit of excellence. And if you're not pursuing excellence, you're pursuing nothing. You know what? If you're not winning, it's because you're not trying hard enough in this life, and that's the RFU.
Let's have a look at a few of the statistics here for a second,
Statistics can tell you anything.
England have won 4 and lost 1 of their matches in all of those years. So they've won 16 Six Nations games over Stuart Lancaster's tenure and lost 4.
England that's a 25%.
Yeah, but surely the point here is surely the point here is that they are the best resource country, so they should be winning. I mean, that's what Richie's saying. He's saying they should be winning more Grand Slams. They should be winning more Six Nations. They can win as many games as you like, but in the end, if they don't win the competition in 4 years, then that is a failure.
England have won the Six Nations once since we won the World Cup in 2003.
Right.
That was in 2011.
And that's not really a very good record, is it?
No, it's not.
Pathetic.
But the point is that Sir Clive Woodward got the hell out of Dodge as soon as his fantastic golden generation of players all went over the hill and retired. He got out of there in 2004. Andy Robinson, disaster. Brian Ashton, incredible run to a World Cup final that Mike and I both covered, but on the whole, disaster. Martin Johnson, arguably the worst of the lot or not too far off it.
What are you trying to prove? Russell, what are you trying to prove?
What I'm trying to prove is that you're sitting there having this random go at Stuart Lancaster when actually you look at what's happened
Well, he's not having a random
before.
go at Stuart Lancaster because what he's been saying throughout the tournament is that he doesn't think Stuart Lancaster has got it. From what you're saying, he's another in a long line of people who've been put in charge of the team who are not winners, who just aren't doing it.
You have all these excuses for the nearly men. I'm not interested in nearly men. I'm not a nearly man. I am a pursuiter of excellence man.
Also, since last week, since we last sort of discussed a lot of this, England have then taken on a French team who had conceded 2 tries in an entire tournament, 2 tries in 4 games, and England scored 7 tries against them in a game.
Are you not in danger
England
of falling
beat them by
into
a mere record of 20 points in a one-off game?
But you're in danger of falling into the trap of justifying failure, which is what England has been doing for years and years and years in cricket, in football, and now in rugby.
For once,
it's not
Mike,
good enough.
you've got it right. For once, you've got it absolutely on the button.
There's no point in justifying it and saying, "Oh yeah, but we nearly did very well. We did we won loads of games, but we just failed at the final hurdle."
What do you think will happen next year? What do you think will happen next year?
What, saying what, the next Six Nations or this year's World Cup?
No, the next Six Nations. We're not going to. Well, the World Cup you can forget altogether because, of course, we haven't even brought into the equation the Southern Hemisphere teams. But next year in the Six Nations, England still won't win it. Trouble with you is, Russ, you've gone native, mate. You sound like a PR man for the RFU. You don't sound like a critical analyst of what's gone wrong at the RFU. I look at the facts.
Best players who are absent, and that is going to be very important indeed. They've played for the last 18 months on and off without Manu Tuilagi.
It's more
They've had
excuses,
Joe
though,
Launchbury out for a huge amount of time
Another
as well.
pursuit of the
England
villainous.
Did Ireland not have any
definitely on
injuries? Did Wales not have any injuries?
They
did
didn't
France not have any injuries?
Ireland had not really that many. They lost Jamie Heaslip for a couple of games, and that was pretty much
Everybody's
it.
got injuries
They
at the end of the day.
Wales didn't have too many at all, to be honest with you. England are going in the right direction. They've got a lot of very, very
How are they
good
going in the
players,
right
and the
direction?
style of their rugby
They
has
haven't won.
improved
They haven't won
massively.
anything. They haven't won anything since the World Cup. You just said that. Once they've won it.
What
since the World
direction
Cup.
are they going in, by the way?
They're going in the right direction.
Treading
They are
water? You think
improving.
treading water is a direction? It's not. Treading water is going nowhere. They are nowhere man team. They are
That's
John
a
Lennon's I am Mr. Nowhere Man.
Overreaction
No,
and
it's
a
not.
hugely insulting overstatement
No,
about
it's
what
not.
was
It's
going
not.
on.
It's not. It's factual. It's absolutely factual, honestly.
You said last week, right? Let's just wait and see how it turns out,
Yeah,
right?
and
now, it's
it
turned
was
out
a 1
that England
minute
lost.
difference, Mike. It was
England
1
lost.
minute. No, they didn't lose. They beat France by 55 points
They lost
to 35.
the championship.
Yes.
They lost
They
the
lost
championship.
it. They were 1 minute away
Doesn't
from
matter.
winning it.
Yeah,
Doesn't
exactly.
matter.
It was
Well,
1 minute too long, wasn't it?
Liverpool were 1 minute away from losing the Champions League, but they won it.
Exactly.
Nobody cares who lost it. In the end, you only care about
They
who
lost
won
it
it, right?
because of all the mistakes against
They
Scotland.
also lost it
Did
because
they
of the
lose it
mistakes
because
Scotland
of
made against Ireland as well.
Manchester
Had
City were
Scotland-
1 minute away from losing the Premier League title, but they won it.
Can we all stop shouting? Russell, did they lose it because of the mistakes against Scotland?
That did not help.
Oh, there
I'm
you
not
go, you see. So you
excuse
can't
me,
even
Mike,
say
Mike,
yes. You
Mike,
can't even say yes.
Mike, at any point have
You
I ever
see?
said that there weren't things that needed to be
Well,
done
listen,
in this England team?
any coach who cannot integrate a boy like Cipriani into the team and make him a match winner, which I would have done if I'd have
But
been in
George
charge,
Ford has been one of the
shouldn't
best
be in
players
charge.
in the England team.
Well, he
Explain
wasn't,
to me
he
how
wasn't
you
good
would...
enough to turn them round into winners, was he? So he can't be that blinking good, can he? Huh?
But then you're saying that Danny Cipriani would have definitely come in and been better.
I mean,
Okay.
there are
How
no
do you know
answers.
that? How do you
should we
know
have?
that?
Well, should we postpone the next conversation for the World Cup, right? And when the World Cup happens, you can come on and explain and tell us why England haven't won
very
it.
kind.
That'd be
Another
marvellous.
looming disaster.
Russell, thank you very much indeed.
No problem at all.
Lots of people giving Russell some support, but lots of people giving you some support as well. Porky, are you going to be calling Russell nobody today, like you did with Toby? And then Kevin says, go on, mate. Put Mike Parry in his place. Anyone who thinks Lancaster is as bad as Johnson, Ashton, etc., has no clue. Well, he's not doing any better, is he? And here's one from Matt, who says, Toby Carvery and similar places alike is mass-produced rubbish. Which is not very nice, is it? And,
terrible.
Here's one from James.
Terrible generality.
Who says, James, at his club, even Rooney hasn't done anything in World Cup finals. Also, Baines is on the wane. There's 3 who are at least better left-backs in England.
No, I don't agree with any of that. And the reason that I don't call Russell nobody is because it doesn't rhyme. Toby, nobody.
That
rhymes.
does rhyme.
You see what I mean?
Well, you haven't got something to rhyme with Russell then.
Russell, I don't know, bustle, something like that. Something like that.
Doesn't really have the same ring to it, does it? There is no smoke without fire, says Enzo. Hodgson cut a deal with Liverpool to rest players, and in my opinion, he should be instantly sacked.
Well, who?
Hodgson.
Well, I wouldn't. I don't think he should have taken up the mantle of England manager after the World Cup. I've said that a number of times.
Well, now,
so,
I mean,
so
now
not,
he's been forced to discuss whether or not he's going to stay on beyond the Euros.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But the thing is, we're now, 1/3 of the way through a qualifying competition, so it'd be silly to get rid of him now. Missed the opportunity. But having said that, there is no challenge for him to try and achieve. There's nothing for him to do. He hasn't got to prove himself in anything until we play in the finals.
But this is the malaise.
Until we play in the finals in the summer of next year.
But this is the malaise, and you know very well what's going to happen.
And
we're going to have more conversations about how well we've done, but unfortunately we haven't actually won it, because that's where we are with cricket, that's where we're rugby, and that's where we are with football. And on your claim of not having had a drink for 3 days, here's one from CL who says this at the two mics. Porky hasn't had a drink since Saturday, so he didn't have a drink at QPR on Sunday.
No, I forgot the game was on Sunday. I did have an odd sherbet on Sunday. I have to.
So it's not true to say having a drink for 3 days then?
Well, yes.
2 days?
No. I didn't have a drink on Saturday, and then I had a drink on Sunday at the QER game, but I haven't had a drink Monday, Tuesday. So it is 3 days,
so it's
interrupted by 1 day. No, interrupted by 1 day. It's 3 days
so
on a 4.
You've got to have a look at a calendar.
3 days on a 4.
Well, it's Monday, Tuesday.
No, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, out of Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Yes, it does. Interrupted with a drink on Sunday.
No, it does.
You can't say, well, you might as well say I haven't had a drink for 4 days apart from on Sunday when I had a drink.
Well, that's right. That's right.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Bizarrely, Sam says this, right? Mike Graham's been very obstinate and pugnacious tonight, normally the job of Mike Parry.
Yes, I
don't
totally
think
agree.
I don't think I'm being obnoxious, obstinate.
No, you're Mike, because every time I state the facts, you seem to resent the fact that I've got the facts at my fingertips, and you try to wheedle around it with a bit of crass stupidity.
I was just in support of your view about Stuart Lancaster there.
Yeah, but I was the one who went in with my head down into the scrum, so to speak. All you were doing was messing around with the ball at the back.
Well, it's my job to try and sort of make sure that the debate is reasonable and that the debate is
no,
moderated,
no.
so that it's not everybody shouting at one another.
No, it's not. You're the crooked invigilator.
Hey?
You're the crooked invigilator.
The crooked invigilator?
Yeah, you are, yeah.
Is that your new name for me?
Well, I
don't mind that.
I don't care whether it's a new name or not, but when it comes to a quiz or anything in which there's a debate in which I'm involved, you are the crooked invigilator,
Well, I can tell you this, that they're working extra hard, the independent quizmasters this week, to come up with what is a very, very complicated subject, 1975 to present-day British politics.
Well, it's not that complicated.
It's a big area.
It's not that complicated
It's a very big area.
Well, it might be a big area, but I'm the master of it.
Yeah.
So, I must have some grey matter to be able to get on top of a subject which you say is big.
I'm looking forward to you showing your mastery now.
Yeah.
Look into the light for a moment, because it's that time. We should talk about Jeremy Clarkson coming up.
Oh, we should, actually.
And lots of other big stories around.
Could be a very, very exciting development in the Clarkson story within a few...
We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out. Do you know who that song's by?
That sounded like John Cougar Mellencamp.
Did it?
Yeah.
It's a woman.
Oh, was it a woman?
Yeah.
Was it? Oh.
It's Tracy Chapman.
Tracy Chapman, don't know.
Very good. I saw her actually once in New York.
Oh, yeah? What did she sing then?
Well, she sang that for a start.
Yeah, I know she sang that, but what's her most famous song?
Well, she sang... Well, that's probably the most famous song.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Revolution, I think.
Fast
Car.
What year did it come out?
It must have come out in the late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, well, what do I know about that? I don't go that far back.
What do you mean don't go that far back? All you know about is people who sang songs in the 60s.
Well, that's because they were the Beatles and they were the greatest musicians ever, so you're entitled to. Now,
a couple of tweets before we get on to Jeremy Clarkson. The professor in Mexico says, Mr. Parry, New Orleans cemeteries are privately owned. They are all named. Parry, you are a plank.
No, I'm not a plank. I know what I'm saying. I've been there. I've seen them.
Have you? Sure?
Well, OK. Well, maybe the professor can come back and confirm that the method of burial is literally that bodies are reduced to dust by the intense heat.
Right. Well,
I'm talking about these swamplands, right? And they build the funeral homes on these swamplands.
Yeah.
They have huge cemeteries and all that. The bodies only ever stay there for 2 or 3 years before they are literally reduced to dust by the intense heat.
He sent 2 pictures, but they're not coming out at the moment.
Right.
So as soon as I see the pictures,
yeah,
I will
okay.
let you on.
Okay.
Paul says, is Parry on the Charlie tonight?
On the what? The Charlie what?
The Charlie what? Never mind, I'm not going to explain it.
Oh, no, I know what you mean by Charlie.
Now, let's talk about Jeremy Clarkson. There's a piece on the front page of the Telegraph this morning, which is normally a fairly influential source of these things.
Do you know what?
Saying what?
It's what you and I do best, really, and over the years, This is amazing because, and I make no apologies, folks, to you people out there for stealing a story. We're stealing this off the front of the Telegraph,
Why
okay?
not? We were informing people what the Telegraph was saying.
We are informing, but they can't see the Telegraph. You can only hear what we're saying, so we're not pretending we know or we got sources.
Yeah.
But this says, Clarkson to be sacked by BBC after assault. Jeremy Clarkson is today expected to be sacked as the presenter of the Top Gear after a BBC investigation concluded that he did attack a producer of the programme. That's just a brief story. You go to page 7 in the Telegraph. Remember the
BBC are denying it at this moment in time.
Are they?
However,
Have they actually put out a statement?
Yeah, they're saying that it's not true. But I mean, again, that doesn't mean that it's not true, does it?
Okay, it says Clarkson acts, but the BBC will motor on with Top Gear. They say DJ Chris Evans lined up as replacement presenter who caused too many headaches. Top Gear is expected to continue on the BBC despite the corporation's decision to sack star presenter Jeremy Clarkson, the Daily Telegraph can disclose. Well, this is written by a lad called Martin Evans. He seems incredibly sure of his facts here, because he goes on to state exactly what the new plan is, why Clarkson's had to be sacked, because it was a 20-minute verbal rant and then a 60-second possibility of a physical.
They're saying that
a physical situation between the two of them, supposedly.
Which up to now has been an allegation which he has denied. Right?
That's right.
But I mean, he's also been very quiet for the last few days. He was approached yesterday by somebody outside his house who said that we understand that the BBC are going to make an announcement today.
Yes.
And he said, I don't think you're going to hear anything today. So, I mean, but what we do know is that he has gone in front of them and he has been before this panel headed by Ken McQuarrie, who's the former head of BBC Scotland, who's involved in the investigation.
What is really interesting here, Mike, let's put a few of the building blocks together.
Yeah.
Go to a newspaper at the very other end of the journalistic scale, the Daily Star, right?
Yeah.
And listen to this. This is only 2 paragraphs, but it adds a fact to the Telegraph's claim. And it says, Jeremy Clarkson remained upbeat yesterday as the decision on Stakegate was looming.
Right.
B bosses are thought to have met yesterday to hear Director General Lord Hall's verdict. Now, I can't find that in the Telegraph story.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? So what they're saying is that what happened yesterday was all the senior people of the BBC were called into the head man's office, that's Director General Lord Hall, and told they're going to sack him.
Yeah.
Clarkson, 54, smiling as he left his London home, joined by his daughter Emily. Top Gear co-host James May also seemed cheerful, despite rumours he and Richard Hammond, 45, may be asked to continue without Clarkson. Now, that's going to cause something, isn't it? That's going to cause a situation.
Well, one of the things that the piece also says is that they're going to keep Top Gear on and they're going to put Chris Evans in charge of it.
Yes, I've already told our millions of listeners that,
remains,
by the way.
well, hang on. Yeah, I know you've told them that, but what I'm saying, the point I'm about to make is that you could draw an analogy here, could you not, between what happened with Adrian Chiles and the One Show, because a lot of people thought, for example, that if Adrian Chiles left the One Show, the One Show would no longer be successful. Lots of people think if Clarkson leaves Top Gear, it won't be successful, but maybe with Chris Evans at the helm, it could be.
Do you know what I think? I think there'll be litigation for years on this because Jeremy Clarkson is Top Gear, isn't he? And if he decides...
Although, did it not exist before he started actually hosting it?
Yes, it was a BBC programme before he hosted it.
Right, so he didn't invent it, did
he? No, he didn't invent it, no. And I don't think he holds copyright on it. But what I'm saying is that if he takes the other two with him, May and Hamster Guy, whatever he calls
Richard
him... May Hammond, and they go and do a road show.
Hamster Guy.
Yeah.
That's what he's always going to be known as.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Like we do, right? I reckon that Clarkson will try and presumably make some claim to call it Top Gear.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's recognised as. I mean, he did, after all, you're right, the programme was there in a small way, and the title was there before he took hold of it, and then made it a worldwide phenomenon. But surely, if he went to a court of law and said, look, Judge, I want to assume the title of Top Gear. He doesn't
have the rights to it, though, does he? The BBC will say, well, it's our programme, you can't call it that.
I totally agree with that, but I think if you go to a court of law and convince a judge that actually, to most people in the street, Top Gear is Jeremy Clarkson, Jeremy Clarkson is Top Gear, there would be a case to
but you see,
argue.
It might be, but what they will want to do, presumably, is if they're going to get somebody as high profile as Chris Evans to front it, they'll say, we can actually be as successful in our overseas sales of this programme with this guy as we were with Clarkson, so we want to keep the name, and Clarkson can go and do something else.
I think if they put anybody else in charge of it, including Chris Evans, they would have to in future call it Chris Evans Top Gear.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the position is so fraught with confusion and is Clarkson coming back or whatever, But anyway, it's an interesting situation.
It really is, yeah. And I mean, was there not? I seem to remember, it was Channel 5 or somebody launched a show called Fifth Gear. which was a car show, which was meant to go up against Top Gear, and it never really went anywhere, partly because it wasn't produced very well, and it didn't have anybody particularly brilliant presenting it.
Yeah, but you try and set your stall out against any established programme like that, or any established company like that. You've got a mountain to climb, an absolute mountain to climb to get over it and try and compete.
Yes,
it would
true.
It would be largely impossible.
Now, I've got pictures now from the professor which have come through.
Okay, thank you.
He sent this picture in. He says that is a New Orleans cemetery.
Yes, that's exactly what it looks like.
And it's got lots of names on it. So it's not. You said they didn't have any names on. So he's right about that.
Well, the one I looked at didn't have any names on.
And there's some more there. I don't know whether he's been there recently.
What do you mean?
Well, that's more of the sort of mausoleum type.
Yes, but there's no names on those.
Yeah, there are. Look,
no, there are.
Writing there.
I can't see any names.
Well, you can't see any because your eyesight's not very good. You haven't got your glasses on.
No. I don't
now,
think so.
speaking of which, I was ranting and raving to you yesterday about how difficult it was to get into work last night.
Right.
Because there were police cordoning off roads.
Yes.
Right? This morning, or yesterday morning when I was trying to get home, it was even worse. They cordoned off every single road between here and my place in London, right? And the reason, as I discovered, was that they discovered a World War II bomb, a 1,000-pound bomb.
A 1,000-pound bomb.
In a place called the Grange.
Unbelievable.
Just off Jamaica Road in Southwark.
Do you know how long ago that bomb was dropped?
Well, you must be talking 1940, right?
75 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that incredible?
75 years
ago.
And
it made me think that all of that area, all the way up the Thames, I guess, would have been flattened during the Blitz, wouldn't it?
Well, listen, I know this is ridiculous, but just over the bridge, we sit here on the edge of the River Thames.
Yeah.
Blackfriars Bridge goes over to Fleet Street.
Yes.
Where we used to work in the newspaper industry.
Right.
If you turn right there and go up the hill towards St Paul's Cathedral, which is called Ludgate Hill.
It is.
When I started working Fleet Street, most of Ludgate Hill was still a bomb site. Believe it or not,
never repaired. It's funny when you said that to me. I thought to myself, actually, you're right, because when I remember seeing Fleet Street and loads of parts of Ludgate Hill were empty.
Absolutely, it was, and of course, with it being so close to St Paul's, the Luftwaffe would love to have taken St Paul's down because it would have a massive sort of
there's that famous picture, isn't there, that was taken by one of the Daily Mail photographers of everything around St Paul's ablaze.
That's
just the dome of St Paul's sitting up through the smoke.
That is
amazing.
That is absolutely right.
Iconic picture.
And it was amazing, and that would be in the early 1980s. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's only like 30 years ago.
Right.
So it's and in fact, there's a place down here called Coin Street, and I think they've actually tarmacked it over now. But that's where we used to park our cars.
Yeah.
That was a bomb site.
Down by where ITV is.
Yeah, and Sir Donald Gosling, wasn't it, who invented NCP?
Yes, I think so.
I think it was. That was one of the first sites he bought after the Second World War. He went around buying bomb sites and turned them into car parks because he realised it was going to be a car park boom. I wish I'd done that.
Part of that now is still like that though. It's still kind of untarmacked car park. In fact, whenever I take the kids to any of the attractions down by the London Eye, that's where I park.
I wish I'd done something like that, don't you? I wish my dad, for instance, great man as he was, wish he'd had the Billy Butling idea to go around buying army camps after the Second World War and turn them into holiday camps.
Right.
You need a big idea. Have you ever had a big idea?
I've had lots of big ideas.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.
No, you haven't.
But
if you had a big idea, you wouldn't be sitting in the studio with me now.
Why wouldn't I be?
Well, because...
Don't you think I enjoy it? I only do things I enjoy. I sit here because I like it.
I know you do, but if you'd had the big idea, mate, you'd own this radio station. You wouldn't be in here working with me.
No, that's
purely
true.
on that basis.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean?
I mean, certainly, I remember hearing the story of people who bought shares in companies like Levi's in the 60s.
Yeah.
Not knowing that they were going to suddenly sort of, blossom
absolutely.
into this multi-billion
What about the guys
company.
who bought shares in Apple?
Yeah. And what about
They've
the guy who sold
multi-millionaires.
I don't know if it's an apocryphal story, but there's a story that goes around that there was a guy who sold his shares in Apple for something like $300, and if he'd kept them, he'd now be worth millions.
About 60 million, apparently. Yeah. No, I've seen that story as well. If everyone had the big idea. The big idea, all she did was go around buying bomb sites and turn them into car parks.
Yeah.
The visionary. Why
didn't you do anything like that?
I've done loads of things like that.
You lie awake at night trying to be a big shot. Yeah, I know you do. Because that's what you want to be.
No.
You want to be a big shot. You want to be able to walk around and go,
I am a big
so
shot.
wealthy.
I'm a big shot.
No, you're not a big shot.
In my own head, I'm a big shot.
In your own head, yeah, but that's pseudologica, whatever it is, fantasia.
But every man is an island. Every man is an island. And I'm king of my island. I regard myself as a big shot. And anyway, I did go around...
You're not so much of an island. You're more of a roadblock.
I did go around buying property when it was cheap, right? And I did okay with that. When I was a kid, when I was 12 years of age, I used to go to jumble sales and buy...
This is more evidence of your weird childhood.
Hang on. I used to buy second-hand clothing.
Why?
Cardigans.
You're still wearing some of it.
No, I'm not. That'd be ridiculous. And then we'd go off down to the second-hand shop, and there were loads of them around in those days because people like my mother couldn't afford new clothing for children, and I would flog all the stuff from jumble sales to the second-hand shops, okay? I became a dealer in second-hand
well, I'll
clothing.
tell you what, I've got a business for you. Here's
Yeah.
a business proposition for you, right?
Yeah.
Because I went and bought a load of wood at the weekend for my wood-burning stove.
Right.
Now, this was this bespoke wood, which has been made especially chopped for my stove, right?
Right.
However, the guy said to me, he said, I'm getting so much work now because people are coming down from London to buy my wood. He
Right.
said because it's so cheap. Because in London, you buy for a bag of wood, you get about £6.50 for it. And down there, I bought 24 bags, right, for 60 quid.
Ooh.
Now, if you were to take that to London,
It's it's £3 a bag.
yeah, so if you were to
Less.
take that to London
Yeah.
and sell it for £6.50 or £7, you'd make an instant profit.
Well, why
wouldn't
don't you bring a few bags up every time you come up?
Because who am I going to sell them to?
Well, you give them
Do you want to buy? You haven't got a fireplace, have you?
No,
I'll sell them to you.
No, don't be silly. You go into the forecourt of a garage.
Yeah.
Go into the forecourt of a garage.
What, just like some kind of bum?
Yes, like some sort of bum, and you say to the
And
guy,
write something. Maybe I could write something on the side of a cardboard box.
Yeah, and you say to the guy behind the counter, look, I've got 4 bags of wood here. Do you know, when I worked
Well,
in,
he's not going to give me £6.50 for them.
hang on, when I worked in a garage, right, and I worked in a garage for about 4 years. I used to work there.
Let's
at
have another
weekends.
story about your life.
No, I'll tell you. I used to work there for about
You've
4
seen the
years.
Time, by the way.
I know, to augment my poverty-stricken salary as a
Yeah.
weekly newspaper reporter. Tankers from Stanley Oil Refinery used to turn in the middle of the night with 40,000 gallons of knocked-off petrol. And we had to...
So you're admitting to take part in a crime now, are you?
Well, the thing is, we had to steer this petrol into empty tanks and all this kind of stuff, and it was paid for at a later date.
You should
and
be
all
in
this
prison.
sort of stuff. Well, no, not really. It's nothing to do with me. I didn't know where the petrol came from.
Oh, really?
But
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
No, this was part of the acceptable practices of the tanker driving industry.
Well, I'm sure Her Majesty's Constabulary might not quite agree with that. Fascinating stuff. We are the two Mikes. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. Ask Porky's coming up. We've got loads and loads of great questions.
If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Actually, you sent a tweet out a little bit earlier on in the evening saying that you were coming in here armed to the teeth and you were going to have a go at something to do with my old suits. Now, first of all, I take exception to that because I don't wear old suits. I wear pretty new suits, actually.
Shabby old suits, the sort of things that you wear when you stagger onto stage when we're doing a live show.
No, those are new suits. I bought them just a couple of years ago.
Don't look new under the lights, mate.
Well, I don't wear purple trousers, that's for sure. Now, let me read you a couple of these tweets and texts.
Okay.
I've got a text here from Kent Milky, who's texted into 81089. He says, Porky buys up properties and turns them into bomb sites.
Who said that?
Roof garden, a big idea, question mark.
What?
Well, he's suggesting that you have described it yourself as looking like downtown Baghdad.
It is, I'm afraid, yeah. But that's been rectified now.
Yeah.
I've got a result on that.
Okay, and Boj has sent in a tweet at the two Mikes saying, please upload a picture of old MG suit under your microscope.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I don't know what you're going on about there.
Well, no, listen, I'll tell you what it is. Well, every time by the way, we're seeing some images of this terrible plane crash over the Pyrenees.
It's awful, isn't it?
It is shocking. And do you know what, Mike? That recovery operation is going to be one of the most difficult in aviation history.
It is, yeah.
This plane has come down 6,000 feet up in a mountain range, which is inaccessible from the ground.
That's right.
I mean, how are they going to get the bits and pieces of the plane
Well,
out?
they're just going to have to use helicopters.
They are. They're going to have to use, like, Chinook,
Yeah.
huge Chinook helicopters to lift out. Because whenever there's a plane crash like that, sadly, they have to get as much of the plane back as they can to a warehouse and put it back together again.
But apparently the biggest piece that they've so far spotted is only as
Size
big
of
as
a
a car.
Yeah, I've seen that. It must have been smashed to
Awful.
smithereens.
Just awful.
Terrible, terrible thing. You think about it, don't you, every time you get on a plane these days? But there we are. Right, now, what I was going to say is every time the economy booms, right, there are particular factors which indicate whether it's a real progression in the economy or not. And the one that's always caught the imagination is the length of the skirt, isn't it? Because it was said that after the boom years of the 60s, which weren't really boom years, we just all started spending money we didn't really have.
Well, I think compared to what had been before, it was a boom time, wasn't it?
You're quite right. Austerity ruled for 20 years after the Second World War, didn't it? And then, I mean, the Beatles changed everything. The Beatles brought confidence to the country. They changed it from black and white.
Elvis Presley,
into colour. And Elvis Presley, I totally agree. And actually the effect of the American economy, because after the Second World War, the American economy started booming after being in recession
Well, it was
before.
also the birth of consumerism, really,
It was
wasn't
the
it? I
birth
mean,
of
suddenly
consumerism.
people wanted to have washing machines, they wanted to have cars, they
Mary
wanted to have toasters.
Mary Quant and fashion, all that. And what happened was, women started wearing miniskirts for the first time.
Yeah.
So everybody said a miniskirt then, therefore, is synonymous with boom times. Okay, good economy and all that.
Yeah.
And then when it all started petering out towards the mid-70s and late 70s, because basically the oil price trebled in the space of 5 years,
Right.
and it sunk the Western economy, skirts went down to the midi and all this kind of stuff. So people have always... But the other theory is this, that as the economy booms, your suits get shabbier. Do you know why?
Because you don't buy them so often, you mean, or so regularly?
No, you don't get them sent to the dry cleaner so regularly.
Oh, okay.
Because you buy them and then you think, I'll wear this for about, I don't know, a few weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months.
Well, the thing is, you
then,
and I
then
used to wear a
discard it
suit.
and get another one.
I mean, when we were working in Fleet Street, you'd wear a suit every day to work, and so therefore
I would.
you needed to buy suits on a regular basis.
How many suits did you have in those days?
Probably about 7 or 8.
That's what I'm saying. I did as well. But there were some people in the
But
office...
now I only wear a suit, really, for kind of, occasional dinner, lunch, when I do the show with you live. I don't wear a suit to work anymore.
I've got 6 black suits,
Yeah.
and I think I wore a suit about half a dozen times last year.
Yeah.
Because it's only if I go out formally or...
if we go to the football, you wear a suit, right?
Well, it depends.
Generally.
It depends which form of football we're going to. If we're going to our friend John Sims' place...
Well, you never go
at
anywhere to
Tottenham.
the football unless it's in a box, do you?
Well,
When was the last time you went to a football match that wasn't in a box?
I went to Southampton and I went into a larger lounge, if you've heard of me.
Yeah, but it's still hospitality.
Oh, it's
isn't
an
it?
exclusive lounge, obviously.
Of course, you wouldn't go to a non-exclusive
Yeah, but you
lounge,
didn't
would you?
have to wear a suit on that
Didn't you?
occasion, so I felt more casual in the
did you not-
chinos.
Oh, you wear your chinos?
Yeah, the chinos, yeah.
Oh, I'm glad I wasn't there.
But a very smart
That
jacket
would have
and all
been
that kind of stuff.
embarrassing.
But
what
no,
sort of jacket?
Oh,
Like a sports jacket?
like a black sports jacket.
Really?
Yeah. It was very, very
It was
smart.
part of the suit, wasn't it? You
But,
wore a suit.
and
you wore the top of a suit, didn't
Hey?
you?
What?
You wore the top half of a suit, didn't you? As
Well,
a jacket.
it looked like top of a suit, but it wasn't.
No.
It was a sports jacket
Really?
bought from a very expensive shop.
Really?
Now, here, the best indicator is not the hemline anymore, but men's ties, right?
Yeah.
According to one theory, ties get slimmer in bad times and brighter when the economy revives. Now, what colour tie did you wear last time you wore a tie?
Well, again, the thing with ties, I mean, when I used to, when I wore a suit working in newspapers, I'd wear a tie every single day. And then, sometime, I guess, around about the year 2000, maybe, people stopped wearing ties quite considerably into work. You still wear a suit, but no tie.
Tell you what,
I've got loads of ties I never wear.
Yeah, it was pathetic after I left the FA, because, of course,
Well, you redesigned the ties.
Well, I did redesign the ties, actually, but I always dressed very formally at the FA because I was Director of Communications. Now, what happened then is, right, about...
Didn't everybody wear a suit? Graham Kelly always wore a suit,
Yeah,
didn't
they did. So what happened is, a few years later, the guy came in to revolutionise the FA. He took them to Soho Square from Lancaster Gate. His name was Adam...
Oh, I know, Adam Crozier, the guy who ended up running the post office.
The man who now runs ITV very successfully. Yeah, Scotsman, and he came from Saatchi and Saatchi.
Yeah.
A very bright man.
Yeah.
But he came in and he was trendy, and on about day 3, he turned up at work without a tie on.
Right.
And you won't believe it, but all the execs at the FA...
So they all stopped wearing ties?
They all took the ties off by
Yeah.
lunchtime.
Right.
So that by lunchtime, and this is a friend of mine who still works there, so that by lunchtime, every male senior executive in the FA had taken their tie off.
And what about you?
Well, I wasn't working there then, was I? I'd left. So I was an observer. I was an observer,
okay.
Yeah, but it was absolutely pathetic because you were seeing people that you'd worked with for years who you knew were very formal and liked a suit and tie and all that, suddenly appearing on the doorstep of the FA, no tie.
Yeah.
And this sort of thing. So anyway, the tie situation is like this, look.
The tie situation?
Yeah, skinny ties have been the thing for the last few years, but they're now beginning to look a bit dated as the economy booms.
Really?
So now the ties are getting wider.
Oh.
It's definitely more relaxed. The structure of the jacket, which the wearer of the tie also wears, is softer on the shoulders. And this reflects people becoming more confident, less worried, and less neurotic in their approach to what to wear to work.
Well, that must mean that my ties will become fashionable once more because I didn't notice that ties were getting skinnier.
Well,
because I had skinny ties at the end of the 70s when it was kind of a new wave punky thing to have a very small collar. And I know you don't want me to keep saying this because I can see that you're getting ready to interrupt me.
No, I'm not.
But all the ties. I don't think I bought a tie since about probably 2000. 15 years. I don't think I bought one.
Well, I have, and I'll tell you why. I had to go and get a shirt. For some reason, I had to go and get a shirt, right? So I must have been going to some event. Yeah, I could have been going to a wedding or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
So like a new white shirt or something like that?
A new white shirt.
Yeah.
And I went into one of those places on the stations in London who sell 4 shirts for £100, right?
T.J. Lewin or whatever it is.
That's right. So I bought 4 shirts instead of 1.
Yeah.
Well, I only needed 1 because the rest of my shirts are casual.
Did you buy 4 the same?
Well, they were the same make, but different colours. One was a stripe,
when I
one
say
was
the
white.
same, I mean the same colour.
Yeah.
I don't mean the same. Obviously, the same make. I'm told it's TM Lewin, actually. Rather
Right,
than
TM Lewin, yeah, anyway. But then I thought, right, now that I've got 4 new shirts, 4 different shirts, I will buy 4 ties.
Right.
And so I bought 4 ties. Each tie was more expensive than the shirt.
Really?
I didn't realise, yeah. No, seriously.
But this is when you have more money than sense, isn't it?
No, I've now got these 4 ties
So how
at
much did
home.
you spend when you went in to buy one shirt?
About £240.
That's bonkers. That's ridiculous.
And those 4 ties now, seriously,
Yeah.
are hanging on a rail at home,
Yeah.
still in the... What do you call it? The plastic cover that they come
yeah.
in, cellophane.
Right.
Still in the cellophane cover,
Yeah.
and they're all beautiful ties, and
Yeah.
they're all based on broad blue and white stripes.
But you must
Royal
have
blue,
more stuff
dark
in
blue.
your house that you've never used.
I have, yeah.
Because you've got all these spare kettles, you've got like spare toasters.
Well,
you've got
I
clothes
like
that
to
you've
prepare
never
for the
worn.
future.
You've got clothes that you've never worn.
Do you know what I've got as well? You
What?
won't believe this.
No, I probably won't.
I've got like a huge
Take
box.
the time, by the way.
I know, no, don't worry about that. I've got a huge box of soap bars. But nobody uses soap anymore.
No.
And I don't use soap because
Why don't you just take it to all the pubs that haven't got any and give it to them?
My cleaning lady doesn't like soap in the bathrooms
Right.
because it really does stick to the...
Have you not got a soap dish?
Yeah, I have got soap dishes. Yeah, I have got soap
How
dishes.
many of those have you got?
I've got loads of them.
That's bizarre, isn't it?
But she likes
Your
me to
world
put,
is so bizarre.
She likes me to put the pump soap things
Yeah.
in the dish.
Well, why do you do
that
what
if
she
it
says?
leaks
She
down,
works
it
for you,
leaks-
doesn't she?
No, but it keeps it clean. But you know the soap I've got? It's wrapped in yellow paper and it's called tar soap or something.
Oh, yeah.
And I've got about 60 bars of it.
Why?
I don't know.
Is this another late night buying thing from the television?
No. I decided, a few years ago it would be good to stock up with soap in case I ran
there's
out.
a nuclear war or something.
No, just in case I ran out. But then I decided not to use it anymore. But I can't
Very
throw it away.
strange. It's
I don't
very
like throwing
strange.
it away.
Maybe just a documentary on the inside of your house. It'd be fantastic.
sure. I'm not
This is
sure
Talk
about
Sport.
that.
We are the two mics.
It's a very clean house, very clean
I'm
house.
sure it is. There's soap all over the place. Ask Porky coming very soon. I wonder who wrote that song, because it's got to be
I
one
don't
of the
know.
most iconic things that everybody
Oh,
will know
absolutely.
and listen to, and even from people who are quite young now, they still use it, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason we played that is because we've learned, haven't we, from the BBC, in the news a lot, the BBC lately, aren't they, that the old Fluff Freeman Pop Pickers, the breakdown of the charts, the top 20, is being moved for the first time in 50 years from its traditional Sunday afternoon slot. What channel is that on then? Is that on Radio 1?
It used to be on Radio 1, yeah.
Is it on Radio 1 still?
I think so.
or-
I don't know.
Is it on Radio 2 now?
I don't listen to it anymore, but I certainly used to listen to it on
But
a
anyway,
Sunday afternoon.
It's been moved
It used to be a very
to,
exciting time when you would find out what was the new number one.
Exactly, they moved to Friday evening. Yeah, you literally did. You didn't know until you got to the last 3 records, which was the number one this week and all that. And it was so exciting. And I didn't even have a tape recorder for the first years when we listened to that. And then
What did you listen to it on? Did you have a radio, or did you have like a radiogram?
Yeah,
or
no,
something like that?
well, we had a radiogram at home in the bay window in the parlour, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you listen to a little radio. I remember mostly listening to it with my mum in the kitchen when she was cooking the Sunday dinner or Sunday evening.
Yeah, because it was kind of late Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, that's right,
wasn't
late
it?
Sunday afternoon, something like that. You know what I mean? And then I got a little tape recorder and I taped it and I listened to it all week.
Yeah.
Because it was the only place where you got the old, you got to remember in those
It was
days.
the top 40, wasn't it?
It was top 40.
Yeah.
But they didn't play all 40 records. They played a few down to 20
Yeah.
and then they played the top
That's
20.
right, yeah.
But every record was a great record because music was so simple in those days. Like that guy who...
This is not going to be another excuse for you to sing.
No, well, it might be, but I mean, the guy who sadly went to jail for all sorts of horrible crimes, Jonathan King, was in fact a pop mogul, and he would suddenly invent a band called Edison Lighthouse, and all of a sudden you'd get, and my love grows like my rosemary grows, and nobody knows but me, and that band would last about 2 records, and then they'd disappear.
And nobody would know what happened to them.
And then Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep would suddenly come up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they'd disappear, and then some other band would come up,
Well, it was when the record business, I suppose, was very, very kind of young as well. And in those days, I guess most of the producers were the ones making most of the money, so they just kept churning all this stuff out.
Yes, I know, but
you know what happens now, by the way, because
Right.
my 2 young kids will watch there's a video countdown now on a Sunday, which goes out. Which
What
they
channel's
like
that
to watch. Well, it's on one of those music video channels on TV. I don't even know which one it is.
What, like VHS or
Yeah,
something?
like VH1.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
VHS, no, that's the tape.
Oh, VHS tape. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, VH1. That's
Yeah,
what I meant.
VH1,
Yeah.
and they'll watch it. And I mean, I caught them watching it the other night. They were supposed to be watching. They were sent upstairs to watch Country File.
Yeah.
And I put my head around the corner and I said, "What are you doing here? Shouldn't you be in bed?" And it was about 10 to 8.
Right.
And it was a school night. And I said, "You got till 8 o'clock."
Yes.
And they were like, "Oh yeah, no, it's all right. Mummy said we could come upstairs and watch this." And I went downstairs. She said, "No, I told you to watch Country File." And they said, and I said, "Well, what's number one going to be?" And they were like, "Oh, we don't know. That's why." And so it's still kind of exciting for kids.
I used to
do that.
do you know, I used to listen to Radio Luxembourg under the covers.
No?
I loved Radio Luxembourg.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I used to
listen to Radio Luxembourg as well.
I used to win LPs.
Did you?
I was so bright. They used to have all these quizzes on Radio Luxembourg.
Yeah.
And if you...
Well, didn't you just get 3 out of 10 on them like you do with the quizzes here?
No. No. And of course, it was all by post in those days.
Yeah.
So they asked you a number of questions. So then I'd fill them all in, and I'd rush down the next day with a postage stamp, post them off. And on 2 occasions, I can't tell you how excited I was because...
So what did you win?
An LP.
Yeah, but an LP of what, though?
Do you know what it was called? It was a guy called Dolan,
Yeah.
and he was Irish.
Yeah.
And the star record on this LP, which was his single, was "Make me and break me and make me an island tonight."
How do you remember all this stuff?
I don't know.
How on earth do you remember?
Do you remember that song?
No, I don't.
Yeah, "Make me and break me an island."
I have no idea.
I'm right.
How
yeah,
you-
it was
I
brilliant.
have really no recollection of any of that.
I think
Joe
his name
Dolan?
was Joe Dolan. It was Joe Dolan. That's right. Yeah, it was "Make Me and Break Me an Island." I bet it was.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say was that it was so iconic, the stuff that you learned, that you couldn't go to school on Monday morning if you hadn't listened to it because you weren't in on the know.
No, of course.
You know, you didn't know what was number 2 and what number 4.
But
and
isn't
all
it
that.
astonishing now if you think about what goes on and the sharing that people have now in terms of like the games they play? I mean, my kids can play a game with their friend because they're both online and they're both playing the same online game.
Unbelievable.
But they're in 2 different places at the same time.
Unbelievable.
You know, it's absolutely amazing. But anyway, talking about islands and things like that, right? Let's talk about Barbados because Barbados is in the news this week.
Very interesting.
They want independence from the Queen.
Yeah, I think they've already got independence.
Well, they've got independence, but they don't want to be part of the Commonwealth anymore, is that it?
No, they do want to be part of the Commonwealth because you get benefits from being part of the Commonwealth, you get financial benefits and all that. What the position is they don't want the Queen as head of state anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, Australia have had, votes on this and conversations on this for years.
And funnily enough, they always vote to keep the Queen, don't they?
They always vote to keep the Queen.
Did Canada not have one as well? I think they did. Canada had a vote to keep the Queen
I think
as
they
well.
did, yeah, but they do. But I think it's really, really interesting because I haven't really got a view on it. I don't really mind whether the Queen's the head of state of Barbados or not, but I do.
I'm very surprised at that. Aren't you more of a kind of a British Empire type?
Not really. Not really. I think clinging on to an empire just for the sake of the historical virtue of it isn't really a great idea anymore in the modern world. You know what I mean? So I'm not. And also, it breeds resentment amongst people. They sort of say, "Well, why are you still, our head of?" And they go back to all the, the days of imperialism and all that, which you don't want to get into. I don't want to get into it anyway. I just want us to be a prosperous country in our own right. But Barbados, for me, has got such great memories. It was where I spent a week tracking down Mick Jagger and eventually found him. Found him with the most meticulous piece of, reporting.
Well, you weren't on your own, presumably you and a bunch of other people.
Yeah, but all these other guys I went down with, had all been there for years. And it was the first few months I was posted to New York.
Yeah.
And then we went down to Barbados because Jerry Hall, believe it or not, had run off with a very wealthy...
Oh, was that Sangster's? The Sangster guy that you
Mr.
ran
Sangster,
up with.
the racing...
Robert Sangster?
Robert Sangster, the horse racing owner.
Yeah. Well, she'd probably done that in response to something that Mr. Jagger had done.
He'd had about his 75th affair of their marriage or something like that. It was no problem at all, but he did it all the time. But
morals of an alley cat.
I tell you who was my photographer, Derek Hudson.
Oh yeah.
And Derek was...
Great guy, Derek.
Well, a great guy, but so strange. And you couldn't... You talk about a Walter Mitty character. He went on a job with Gene Rook once, got fed up halfway through the job, wanted to go home, so told Gene Rook his girlfriend had been killed in a car crash in England, and he had to leave. And, Gene was so...
The only reason I'm laughing is because it's not true.
I know, it wasn't true. And Gene was so full of remorse.
Yeah.
She sent flowers to his home and all... It was terrible things,
Yeah.
But anyway...
So you know the funny thing about Derek Hudson, I'm friends with him on Facebook now. Because he lives in Paris.
Right.
And he worked for Le Mans. He worked for Le Mans for a long time.
Right.
And he posts occasionally, like a bit like Mickey Brennan does, some of his old pictures. And they're amazing pictures.
Oh, no,
that's what we don't see very much anymore.
Yeah.
Because photography is a kind of an art.
Yeah.
As news photography doesn't get used anymore.
No, that's absolutely right. And he's still working in Paris, is he?
He's in. I don't know what he does exactly, but I mean, he's certainly still operating as a photographer.
Oh, excellent. Good for him.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got down there, and of course, I was very anxious to get out. And Derek looked at me, with askance, and said, "Well, why?" I said, "We've got to find Mick Jagger."
Yeah.
And he said, "Why?" I said, "We've got to find." He said, "No, don't. We've got a deal. Don't worry. Nobody's not looking for 2 or 3 days. Come on, we're going water skiing."
Right.
And I said, "But I don't want to go water skiing. I want to go and find Mick Jagger."
Yeah.
And he
You
said,
see, you couldn't get on with that kind of situation,
no,
could you? You couldn't ever agree that this is what we're all going to do.
No. Anyway, so, of course, I went off and started knocking on doors all over Barbados. I mean,
and was he staying in somebody else's place
He was
then?
staying in somebody's villa.
Right.
Now, we stayed at Sandy Lanes,
Right.
which is the hotel.
Right.
It wasn't quite as exclusive in those days as it is now, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, billionaires stay there now. In those days, just like millionaires and all that. But there was, it was a huge estate and all that. I knocked on so many doors, and one night...
But it can't be easy just to go around Barbados, Millionaires Row, knocking on doors.
I know,
Because presumably they're all behind like high security gates and
actually, they weren't in those
bodyguards
days.
and all that.
They, to be honest, they really weren't so much in those days. You could drive up the driveways.
Yeah.
And anyway, after knocking on the 50th door, bang, 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 knocking on the door, and a lady maid. There were a lot of lady maids, in those big houses.
Yeah, housekeepers
and all that. I said, "Oh, hello." I said, and I did the usual trick. I'm from the record company in London. Is Mick here, please? I need to see.
So you misrepresented yourself.
Of course I did. Of course I did. I was completely duplicitous.
Shocking that you admit all this.
Yeah, and I said, hello, my dear. Yeah, my name's Mike Parry, record company in London. Brought some tapes out. Mick's got to listen to him. Is he in?
Right.
And, everyone, what? Sorry? Anyway, do you know what this lady said?
Yeah.
She said, "I'm sorry, you've got the wrong house." I said, "Oh, have I?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Keith Richards is staying here. Mick's staying in the house over the rise there." And I said, "Right, okay." I said, "And is Keith here?" She said, no, he's not here at the moment, but I do know Mick's there because he came over this morning. I said, right, thanks. And how do I get there? And she said,
people are unwittingly helping you
absolutely.
in your duplicity.
Absolutely.
Shocking.
So anyway.
So did you find him?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. We had a mini moke. The cars that you hired in those days were little mini mokes.
Right.
You know things I'm talking about?
Yeah.
4 wheels,
yeah,
the
with
roof,
no
and that's about
with
it.
no sides.
No sides.
Yeah.
So I was with Derek.
They used those in one of the James Bond films,
I think they did, yeah. So I was with Derek, and I said, right, we found him. Right, get in. So Derek's much taller than me, and as you say, there were no sides on the mini moke. So I started driving, and as we went up the rise like that, Derek got out the side of the car, hauled himself up almost onto the roof.
Yeah.
With his cameras streaming behind him,
right.
on the camera straps like that. It was almost like a vignette of a Fleet Street reporter at work. And as we went herring down the hill, right, he said, he's there. And Mick Jagger was sitting by a swimming pool at the bottom, and he heard Derek shouting, he heard the noise, and he got up, and, if Derek had kept his mouth shut, we might have got something out of it.
So he didn't get a picture?
He ran into the house. Jagger ran into the house. Anyway, of course, we didn't give up. Started banging on the door and all that. And after about an hour, he came out. And the deal we did, because in those days there was no instant communications, we had to go back to the hotel. We had to get a telex from Solari Lamb, who was our registrar in London, that if we sat down and had an interview with him, we would then leave him alone for the rest of his holiday, to get on with his holiday. That deal came through, and the next day we sat on the edge of his swimming pool and talked to him and took pictures, and it was a very successful mission.
Yeah, and that's the way you could do it in those days as well, because there were no publicists, there were no kind of bodyguards, nobody was... And eventually they would see the sense of talking to you and just, basically
and just say,
doing
now,
it.
Get lost and leave me alone.
Exactly.
And it worked.
There isn't time for me to tell you a similar story about George Michael, but
Excellent.
I will coming up in a little while, because we have to look into the light, because coming up, it's time for Ask Porky. It's about 5 or 6 hours from now. It is that time of the week, though, when one of our more popular features arrives, and it's time for Ask Porky. And I've got a series of questions here, Mr. Parry, that have been tweeted in over the course of the last 24 hours.
I want to help.
And all you want to do is help. And there's, very funnily enough, the first question actually refers to some of the stories we've been telling you about tonight. And it comes from Brian, who says, I'm a journalism student looking to make it in the newspaper industry.
Okay.
How do I make it to the big time like Porky?
Well, what you have to do is, and this is the secret of success, you have to keep kicking doors down, OK? What you shouldn't do is don't bother writing a CV, don't bother sending the CV to anybody electronically, don't bother putting it in the post. If you put it in the post and somebody like me answers it, it will go straight into the big filing cabinet in the floor. It's called the bin, OK?
Is that what you used to do with people's CVs then?
Absolutely. Whenever anybody sent me a CV, I just used to take it out the envelope and throw it in the bin without reading it, because that's not the way to get a job. You have to be there in person. You have to get through security downstairs. You have to get in the lift, get upstairs, get onto the floor, get to the editor's office, kick that door down. That's the only way to get yourself a job in journalism.
Well, there's your advice there. Well, let us know how it goes.
Kick
Because,
the door down.
Try not to be too violent about it. Here's one from Cam, who has tweeted at the two mics.
Right.
Would you take a lady to a Toby Carvery on a date? And if not, why not?
I wouldn't take a lady to a Toby Carvery on a date because she would think I was a cheapskate. I do think that Toby Carvery is good places if you want to nip in with a couple of papers, sit down, have a couple of pints of beer, then have yourself a buffet meal. Is it called a buffet? No, a Carvery.
Well, you can eat Carvery, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but I wouldn't take a lady there because, quite frankly, the ambience isn't marvellous for intimacy.
Right.
In the sense,
it's not a very romantic sort of place.
It's not very romantic because you get families there with children. You got a lot of kids running around, which is great.
Well, also, how do you say to a woman you're trying to impress? You know, by the way, you can have as many vegetables as you like.
Yeah, or how do you say to a woman you're trying to impress? Oh, come on, love, we're going to queue up now with our plates and get a bit of turkey or something like that. No, I definitely wouldn't. But I'm not putting Toby Carvery's down. They're good. If I was taking a lady out and wanted to impress her, I would take her to the Shard in London, like I did last week.
Oh yeah.
And I took the lady there on the advice of old MG here, who's sitting next to me.
Did you go up to the bar up at the 33rd floor?
Let me just tell you, folks. And he sniggered when I told him. I didn't realise you had to wait for an hour in the queue to get into the basement. Get into the.
You didn't go in that way, did you?
The ground. Yeah, of course I did.
What did you do that for?
Because it's the only way I could find to get in.
Idiot! You should have gone around to the hotel and then you go up into the bar. You don't go anywhere near queuing up.
No. I tried to get in the hotel. Guy wouldn't let us in.
Why not? Because you were too scruffy.
No, not at all. I said, look, we're going to. I said, which bar? I said, and he said, go down those steps and go to the fourth entrance on the left. And when I got there was a huge queue.
Yeah, he sent you. That's to the observation deck.
Well, I didn't want to go to the observation deck. I want to go
wrong.
to the bar. Well, I forgot it wrong because you misdirected me.
No, you should have asked me to come with you, and then I could have pointed you in the right direction.
Anyway, I'm being asked advice on that. Don't go to the Carvery. Go to the Shard, but get your instructions right. Don't rely on your, duplicitous best mate to lead you the way to the Carvery.
Okay,
to the Shard.
Next question comes from Kelly. It says, when Mike Parry leaves this mortal coil and heads to heaven, what would be the first thing he'd say to God?
That's
a good question.
Well, OK, all I'd say is I tried to lead that Christian life. Forgive me for my sins, my Lord, but I put more into life. My Lord? Yes. But forgive me for my sins, my Lord, for I put more into life than I took out of it. Yeah. And then because I have actually compiled a list, seriously, of good things I've done in my life, so that I don't forget
a short list.
When I die. No, it's not. No, I've contributed to over 35 charities. I've helped people out.
We've all done that.
Hang on a regular basis for the last 20 years.
I would say so.
Right, I've helped out people who've been in distress.
Yeah, we've all done that.
I've paid for people's education through university.
Yeah, it's called being married.
I've looked after people whose businesses have gone a bit dodgy, and I've had to help them out. Yeah. I have.
So all of this involves money, basically?
No.
Yeah, it does. All of the first three things you've mentioned involve money.
I have unceasingly been kind to animals. I've unceasingly been kind to those less fortunate than me.
Poisoning the neighbourhood
I've unceasingly been kind to those who've had problems in life with disabilities or something like that. I've been all round a good egg, and I would say that to God. Let me in, please.
All right. Luke says this. This is one just come in. I'm taking my FA coaching badges. Do you think the FA should do more to help other coaches to get the best out of our kids? Serious question, but a good one.
Yeah, a good question, yeah. I think coaching, and this is not a scientific answer, I think coaching can be overrated. Because what I think the conversation on coaching...
I agree with you on that, actually.
What the conversation on coaching does is, in my view, gloss over the fact that we lack natural talent. For instance, people in some African countries are fantastic long-distance runners. People in Australia can play cricket very well.
South American players don't necessarily get over-coached to play football, do they?
No, exactly. People in Canada are very good at ice hockey. And the problem is we have lost the genetic ability to produce great instinctive footballers like Ross Barkley, like Paul Gascoigne, going right the way back to...
Don't put Ross Barkley in the same breath as Gascoigne.
Going right the way back to Duncan Edwards, and until we find how to restore that, I'm not sure that I'll have a huge amount of faith in the future of coaching.
OK. Alan says this. How do I tell my mother-in-law, Porky, that her roast dinners are rubbish?
Well, I wouldn't. If I were you, I wouldn't. What I'd do is do what I've often done and go there and complicate the whole meal by talking a lot, chopping up a lot of food into very small pieces, right? Eating a bit of it but not much of it, putting it back on the plate, pushing it around, and then when you get the opportunity...
Like if she looks away or something.
Yeah, exactly. Push it onto your girlfit's plate. Put it all
well, you can't put it all on her plate,
no,
surely.
No, you can. You can.
Well, then she eats it.
I've done it. No, she doesn't eat it. She just pretends that she's left it. But at least with her mother will think, oh, you know, she's not feeling herself today.
But what if somebody else spots you doing that, though, at the table?
Nobody would. I do it surreptitiously.
Yeah.
Also, I have resorted to taking... a plastic bag in my pocket, seriously.
Really?
And I have...
I suppose that's what you could carry a handkerchief for.
Yeah, what?
Put the food in the handkerchief.
Oh,
put it in your
no,
pocket.
get all messy with the gravy and all that kind of stuff. A plastic bag's better, and shovel something into the plastic bag where nobody's looking, except your girlfriend, because you have to explain to your girlfriend, look, I don't like this food, but I don't want to upset your
wife.
Yeah. And what happens is usually a girlfriend will cohort with you into deceiving her mother.
Cohort?
Yes.
What, as a verb?
Yes, that's right, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Right, here's one from Nick, who says, Porky, some poor people with a rubbish car have moved into my street. I'm worried. What should I do?
Well...
He's obviously a fellow snob.
Yeah, OK. I tell you what you can do. Depends how poor the car is. But what you can do, and you will be excused by God and anybody else for doing this, because you need to improve your neighbourhood.
To God, this
well, you know, what I'm about to tell you now could be seen to be a bit dastardly and a bit low, but do you know that if you stick a potato in the exhaust pipe of a car, it will blow the car up?
Yeah. It'll make it stop going.
Yeah, well, it'll actually, it'll make the exhaust...
You don't want to blow it up. It just won't go anymore, will it?
No, I don't mean blow it up literally. What it does is it breaks the cylinder head, i.e. it knocks the exhaust pipe off the connection with the engine, and therefore the car can't go.
Right.
And if you stick the potato, it's always got to be a potato, because potatoes stick fast.
But surely you don't want the car to be stuck in the street. You want the car to go somewhere else, don't you?
No, what you do is you disable the car by sticking a potato in the exhaust, and then you ring up the local council and complain about the eyesore of a wrecked old car in the street.
Okay.
They will then come along, put a notice through the door of the person who owns the car, and order them to get it removed at their own cost. It only costs.
What if they find out you put a potato in the exhaust?
They won't. They won't. You do it at night. Do it, and I'm
but they'll
dark
find
clothes.
they'll find a potato in there, though, won't they?
No, because after the car's exploded and all that kind of stuff, and they go...
The car's not going to explode.
Well, you know, they go back in the house to find out what's going on. You get out and take the potato out.
No,
there's no evidence. And do that...
Sounds very dodgy advice,
do that
this.
at night with dark clothes on, so you're not spotted by a CCTV camera.
I don't think I can endorse that kind of advice. Now, here's another one from Gary, who says, the wife has started to put a few pounds on since Christmas.
Yes.
What shall I do?
Well, tell her to get slim. And, in
a subtle way?
No, I would say, look, you see... Let me tell you two things here. Firstly, you've got to be cruel to be kind when it comes to relationships in life, because if you start resenting your wife getting heavy, then that's going to prove to be difficult in your relationship. So you have to seize the problem. You have to seize the moment. I will tell you something which I actually believe in, and that is the best mirror you can look in life is that of your best friend or partner. Okay?
What you mean? I hope that I can see myself as others see me.
Exactly,
that kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You have to be
Is that
cruel.
what you do?
That's what I do.
Right.
And you have to be cruel to be kind. I admit openly, I left a girlfriend once because she started putting weight on, and I thought, she won't take notice of me, this could go on forever. She could end up as being unattractively overweight to me. I'm not having it, and I left. And I would advise anybody to threaten that to their partner, male or female, against male or female, in order to get serious with them.
OK. Time for a couple more quick ones.
Right.
One from Phil.
Yes.
It says, can you ask Porky how I can get out of having a vasectomy? My wife says it appears the time has come. #ouch.
Right, OK. What I would do is I'd just say to your wife, no, I'm not going to have the snip, OK? A friend of mine had the snip, and he came out of hospital. Believe it or not, he bought a load of tomatoes. He just suddenly felt like he needed tomatoes. I don't know why, because apparently there's something in there that affects the prostate gland. Yes,
really?
Yeah, and you get an urging for them when you've had a vasectomy.
Oh, okay.
But the problem was, walking home, he dropped his tomatoes.
Oh dear!
He bent over to pick them up, and he ripped all the stitching.
That's what you meant.
No. He ripped all the stitching which connected his
tomatoes.
His testicular sac to his leg,
right?
Because they stitch it back to the top of your leg. Nobody told him that, so that when he moved his leg a bit too far over, it tore the stitching.
Well, perhaps he should have gone to a reputable doctor for this.
Yeah, he should have done. Yeah, he should have done. Yeah.
All right, here's one. A final question from Andrew. What's the best way to travel first class on a train but only pay for a second class ticket?
the best way to do that, and you can't get away with just paying for a second-class ticket, is travel on a Saturday. I don't know why more people don't do it.
Because they have to travel on other days.
No. Travel on a Saturday or a Sunday and buy the cheapest second-class ticket. A few days in advance, get into your second-class carriage, and then walk into first class, sit down, and when the guy comes down, offer to pay £10 upgrade charge, which you can do on most trains at the weekends.
Okay.
It's a great way of doing it, except for the fact that...
What if you end up getting done for a penalty fine?
No, you won't, because that is a very legal way of doing it. You can upgrade yourself at weekends. But I would say this, that if I paid the full first-class fare in that carriage, and you came along, did that trick on me, and you're some scruffy student with some duffel bag or something like that, I would ask the ticket inspector to throw you out of the carriage on the basis that I'm a superior person to you because I'd paid the full fare and it was probably hundreds of pounds and you were paying a few cheap £10 just to get yourself upgrade. Right. You don't belong in the same carriage as me. I'm sorry I'm not being a snob, but that's just fact.
Man of the people speaks, as per usual. It's good enough for him, but not for anybody else. That was Ask Porky. We'll have another session, same time next week. Keep your questions coming in. We've still got loads we didn't get to. Apologies if yours didn't make it, but we try to pick the best ones, and we'll be. You have another chance of getting them read out, because I always keep them from the following week. Coming up, we're going to talk about George Michael, a few more other bits and pieces as well, a couple more sports stories too. This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
I wanted to tell you briefly about, after your Mick Jagger story, that I was sent to LA to track down George Michael, which wasn't quite so difficult to do, mostly because he was going there to get an award. But we had to find out what hotel he was staying in, and then we had to check into the same hotel and all the usual things. And it was this beautiful place called the Bellage Hotel in West Hollywood, which was full of stars. It was one of these places. Bellage, yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's just off Hollywood Boulevard. And the Sunset Strip, and it's one of these kind of very trendy places. I mean, this is quite a few years ago, so and I was astonished when I got there because literally the room that I had was bigger than the apartment I had in New York. Right, you know, I had this massive, great big long coffee table. It was all dark and very kind of trendy. Yeah. Danny DeVito came in for breakfast when I was there the first day. It was that kind of place, right? Yeah, anyway, we got George Michael and. To be served basically with papers because the last time he'd been there, he got into a fight with the photographer. So the photographer was going to stitch him up and sue him for damages and all the rest of it. And we just said, right, we're going to have to just follow him around, take a load of pictures, try and get an interview, a bit like you did with Jagger. Yeah. And so I think it was about the second day. George came into the lobby of the hotel. And so I just went up to him, started talking to him, and told him that I was from a paper in England, and we'd just like to do a quick interview, and then we'd leave him alone. Yeah. And he turned around to me and he said, I wouldn't talk to you if you were the last person on earth. Why don't you F off? And that was it.
It's not very nice, though,
no.
Is it, really?
And I said, well, the problem, George, now is that I'm now going to have to follow you around every single minute of the day that you're here. And it's going to be very annoying for you. And he's like, well, see if I care. And it became this incredibly funny, and I was working with this mad American photographer. Right. He used to do paparazzi shots of the famous people all the time. And every day they had their manager with them, and every day he turned up with a faster car to try and get away from us. And every day we just chased them all over LA and turned up in places and sent them bottles of champagne. And he was with Andrew Ridgeley, who was at the time, and Wham.
Were you doing this on your own, or anybody else doing it?
Oh, no, it was just the two of us.
Right,
so we were doing it for one of the Sunday papers. So nobody else
and what happened in the end?
Interested. In the end, we got great set of pictures of him. We got him being taken to court for this lawsuit that he was being done over for by the photographer, and they never got away. And then finally, the final kind of denouement of it was after about 4 days of this, I came back to the hotel lobby, and the manager came up to me who was in a very kind of agitated state. Yeah, and he said, "Oh, Mr. Graham, I'm terribly sorry, but we're going to have to ask you to leave the hotel." And I said, "Why is that then?" He said, "Well, we've had a complaint from one of the residents." And I said, "Oh, who's that?" And he said, I think you know who that is. And I said, well, do you mean George Michael has complained? And he said, well, yes, he has. I said, well, why do you think he's done that? I said, we're here doing a legitimate job. I said, I'm paying the same money he's paying to stay here. What's the problem? He said, well, the thing is, we don't like to upset our guests. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, the newspaper I'm working for is owned by Rupert Murdoch. The newspaper I'm working for is owned by the same people that run 20th Century Fox. Yeah. Would you like me to tell them that you've thrown me out of the hotel so you'd never get any more business from them? And he went, you're quite right, Mr. Graham, you can stay. And he let me stay.
That was excellent.
And I thought that was a great triumph.
That was a good tactic. Well done. Yeah, absolutely right.
But George Michael, and I didn't blame him for it.
Mind you, if you'd have complained to your newspaper, they'd have said, so what?
Yeah, they probably would.
Exactly, but it was a great tactic.
But I didn't want to be thrown out. I didn't want to be thrown out. But we had great fun driving around. And this photographer was an absolute maniac.
Who was it?
It was a guy called Phil Ramey.
Yeah, I know Phil.
He was the guy who used to hang out of helicopters and take pictures of Madonna. He was the guy who threw himself on what's his name, Rock Hudson's car bonnet when the car was being driven out when he died.
Oh, right,
to get
yeah.
the picture through the windscreen.
Caroline Graham?
Yes.
She worked with Phil all the time.
Yeah.
When I was over there staying with her once, we went out and tried to find the hooker who had been with
Hugh
Grant.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, who had already been bought up by Piers Morgan in the News of the World.
Yeah, we spent about 2 days, chasing around looking for him with Phil.
Yeah.
But
now, I want to talk to you about Easter, because we talked about this before with the problem with railways and all the football fixtures and everything else, because Easter weekend is coming up, right?
Yeah.
It's a week and a half away. And I was just reading yesterday, in addition to all the ridiculous engineering works, right? The staff on East Coast trains are going to strike on Good Friday. Can you believe this? Now, there's going to be loads of stuff going on Good Friday.
Is anybody going to be mad enough to get on the train at Easter anyway?
Well,
bearing in mind that it's going to take you like 4 hours, apparently, to get from Rugby to London, a journey that normally takes 42 minutes.
But aren't there loads of Good Friday football fixtures, though? Aren't there going to be people trying to get to games?
Well, they've been warned that the train service is going to be so hopeless. Not a lot of fans travel by train these days,
Yeah.
I mean, in the old days, I used to get to Everton away games by literally jumping into the goods wagon.
Yeah.
We had goods wagon those days.
Yeah, they
and
don't have
hiding,
those anymore, do
hiding
they?
behind the mailbags and all that kind of stuff.
So this was before you used to sneak into first class. You used to actually just jump into the goods wagon.
Yeah, just get in the goods wagon and hide behind a box and all that, and taunt the ticket inspectors because they could never run as fast as me.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just me. There was me and a lad called Chris Dowling, who was my mate at
It's
school.
a bit like some
We
kind of
were the only
beatnik
two
thing. It's like
Everton
Jack
fans.
Kerouac on the road.
Yeah, a bit like that.
Jumping like hobos on a train.
Yeah.
But here's this, right? Listen to this. Train staff at Virgin Trains East Coast in Edinburgh will stage a one-day strike on Good Friday in protest at the sacking of a catering worker, right? Now, the catering worker was sacked from his job because he was reported to have told passengers they could not get a full cooked breakfast because of a broken boiler and staff shortages on an earlier train.
Yeah, and was that true or not?
Well, apparently they couldn't. I mean, how many times have you got on a train and you can't actually get what you want to get?
Yeah.
And so he was just reporting what was the
What
case.
what was the guy supposed to have said?
Well, I don't know.
Because, I mean, if it was due to the fact that there weren't enough people on the train, the boiler had broken, he was only being honest, wasn't he?
I mean, I've been on trains before when they've said the boiler's broken, we can't make you anything hot.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they've sacked him for it. But the fact is they've now decided to go on strike as a result of it.
Yeah, most of the time now I take my stuff on the train, don't you? Because then you can
Well,
be
I don't
assured
really travel
of
by
what you've
train
got.
that much anymore. Ever since I got the car, I don't bother.
Well, like when we went up to Birmingham,
Yeah.
I decided to go on the train.
Well, I drove up to Birmingham.
I know you did. It was more relaxed to go on the train. I worked that out, smarter than the average bear. And, I did it in a leisurely fashion with a glass or two of Pinot.
No, I
and,
disagree. I'm driving back.
And
I'll tell you
didn't
what,
turn
driving
up there
back
with all my head screwed up.
Driving back with the sun streaming in through the sunroof and playing a lot of loud music and being away from the anybody else that I didn't know.
Yes.
I found that fantastic.
Yeah, I know you did, but you couldn't have a leisurely drink on the way back and watch the countryside
No, I
whizzing
couldn't.
past your window.
But my life doesn't roll for having a leisurely drink,
Yeah.
so I was able to have a leisurely drink when I finally got back
you
to
just
Sussex.
like to have a drink 24 hours a day.
Not at all. Oh, by the way, here's an update for breaking news for you.
Oh, go on.
Because it's spring,
Yes.
I've decided to make the mammoth decision to get my hair cut tomorrow.
Getting a haircut?
Actually, later on today.
Well, it does need it. I
It
mean,
does.
Without being rude.
It does need it.
I came in last night, and as I approached the floor and came through, you had your back to me. You turned your desk round, and I thought, what a filthy, greasy, oily mess your hair looked like last night.
I object to that.
No, it did.
I object to that.
No,
you can't insult me the way you insult Russell Hargreaves.
No, I'm not being rude. It looked like that. Honestly, it looked revolting.
Well, I
to
only
me.
just washed it.
Well, last night,
Yeah.
you couldn't have done.
I washed it just before I came in.
You couldn't have done. Honestly,
What do you mean I couldn't have done?
It looked to me like you'd made one of these exotic meals, including a pan full of chips. And
Yeah.
when you'd finished with the chips, you'd put the chip pan fat all over your hair.
Well, with the
That's
greatest
what it looked
respect,
like.
with
That's
the
what it
greatest
looked like.
respect, I don't think you're the greatest judge of
Oh, I think I am.
coiffurery.
Oh, I think I am.
Really?
I get my hair coiffured, and I.
Yeah, but what's left of it?
No, I shower it every day. And unfortunately, the only thing that's happened to my hair is when I had.
How's the wet room coming along, by the way? Do you like it?
Wet room's fine.
Is it better than the other
wet
bathroom
room's
was?
in very, very good shape.
Yeah.
I mean, good shape.
Is it not dangerous, though, in a wet room?
No,
Do you
it's
not
not
have to wear shoes that protect you from falling over?
No,
Because if the
not
floor's
at all.
slippery after a shower...
Not at all.
Are you sure?
Not at all. It's special. It's a special fabric on the floor, which is non-slip.
Fabric?
Yeah, like
Surely
a
if it's a wet room, it should be a tile, shouldn't it?
Well, it is a sort of tile fabric, but it's
A
it's,
sort of
it's
tile
yeah,
fabric?
it's non-slip. It's non-slip. Believe me.
So it's not a wet room at all, is
Of
it?
course, it's a wet room.
You've just got some cowboy builders to put in some tiles
Don't be
that
ridiculous.
have actually are not supposed to be getting wet.
No, they're non-slip. They do get wet. It's non-slip.
Have you got one of those cords that you pull if you fall over?
No, what would I need that for?
Well, in case you fall over.
I'm not an invalid. I'm going to fall over.
Well, you might fall over.
No, rubbish.
It's slippery.
I haven't got a problem. It's not slippery. If it was slippery, I wouldn't use it,
No.
would I? So anyway, I get it. I shower my hair every day.
You shower it?
Yeah, well, I shower.
Why don't you just wash it?
Well, that's what I do, don't I, in the shower? But what
Right.
I'm saying is, when I had it coiffeur,
Yeah.
I asked my salon manager to...
Your hairdresser?
Yes, sort of thing.
Do you ask for a specific person?
Well, they know who cuts my hair. And I said, look, make it
You
a bit...
don't know who it is, do you?
Yeah, of course I do.
What's his name?
John.
John?
Yeah, he's
You
Italian.
have your hair cut by a bloke, do you?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Yeah, he's
I
Italian.
see.
And, well, why shouldn't you have your hair cut by a bloke? Who do you have your hair cut by?
I have mine cut by a woman,
Do you?
obviously.
Why is that then?
Because I enjoy having my hair cut by a woman.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
I find it quite a sensual
yeah.
experience.
Oh, I see, yeah. Got your ironer, have you?
No, not at all.
Yes, you have.
No.
Yeah, you spend your whole time with your haircut staring in the mirror at this lady's extenuating
I tell you, actually,
physical
sometimes
attributes, don't
it's
you?
one of those things, it's a bit like going to the dentist, it's one of those things I find
Yeah.
myself falling asleep sometimes.
Really?
Because, they massage your head.
Yeah.
They do all that. It makes you
do
feel
all that,
very
yeah.
relaxed.
Yeah. But anyway, look, I had my hair cut a little bit shorter when it was coiffured, and now, unfortunately, every time it dries, it sticks out. So it doesn't look... it hasn't
Sorry.
quite adjusted. What are you laughing at?
I've just read a tweet.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can read it out, but it's very funny.
Oh, you better give
No,
us
you
a flavour
carry
of
on.
it. No, you give me a flavour of your tweet. Don't be sitting there sniggering to our audience of millions.
Frankly says, I think we've crossed into new territory now that Porky's uttered the words... ripped his testicular sack on air.
Well, I'm sorry, but that was... Well, look, what else was I supposed to say?
I don't know.
I
don't know.
It was
there must have been another way of saying it.
No, it was a completely accurate physiological description of the damage that my friend happened to cause to himself.
Indeed, yeah.
And very painful.
Yeah.
Believe me.
Now, here's one from somebody called Simplist, who says, tile fabric, a non-slip and a handrail for the old tart.
No handrail or anything like that. You see, this is the problem. I tried to share details of my existence because people want to know.
They do.
And then as soon as I tell them, I get all this mockery hurled at me.
Because you're the only person, to be fair, that's put in a wet room with carpet tiles in it.
It's not got carpet tiles. It's got non-slip tiles. There are such a thing. They have little ridges in them.
Right.
They're little ridges so that your feet don't go whoosh, on slippery tiles.
Right.
It's a completely practical thing.
Well, are they fabric or
and
not?
By the way, I was told by the people who supplied them, because they came from Italy, they were invented by the Romans. Julius Caesar invented them.
Did he?
Yeah, he did, because he realised...
Did he have a wet room?
Well, they did have showers, the Romans. The Romans had showers.
Yeah, I don't think they had carpet tiles, did they?
I haven't got carpet tiles, you fool. They were very big into tiles and clay and all that kind of stuff, and they put little ridges in their tiles so they wouldn't slip. The Romans invented... I don't know what you're laughing at, because it's absolutely true. And Julius Caesar was the proponent of the great developments in the Roman Empire, so I've got him to thank for it.
Friends, Romans, countrymen.
Yeah,
lend me your carpet tiles.
And tile makers. No, it wasn't carpet tiles, you fool. You see, when you don't understand something, you just mock.
Yeah.
That's your problem.
William says, I might be wrong, but I don't remember a pub being mentioned this morning. And then he went, correction, alcohol has just been mentioned. Because people have said that, it's very difficult to listen to this show without any mention of alcohol.
Well, they do serve drinks in the Carvery.
And we did talk about the Toby Carvery at great
Exactly.
length. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Mr. Parry, thank you very much indeed. Coming up tomorrow, of course, it's Porky Vision. So I do hope you've been studying the TV and Poldark and all that. I actually was forced to watch an episode of Poldark on Sunday night.
Good, isn't it?
No, I thought it was awful.
Oh, it's brilliant.
I thought it was absolutely dreadful.
It's brilliant.
Have you looked at House of Cards yet?
House of Cards I haven't had a look at, but one that I'm really...
What can we look forward to?
What I'm really down on is the Hawaiian thing with the guy with the moustache,
What, Hawaii 5-0?
No, the other one.
Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck, yeah.
What, Magnum? Magnum PI?
Utter rubbish. Utter drivel.
Well, it was all right when it was on at the time.
Utter drivel.
Well, can you try and look at something that's come out within the last 35 years?
Oh, no, I've got a few of those. Don't worry about that, yeah.
Brilliant.
Mixed bag.
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics, at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube.